Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here. Just to make it sure, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, we are able to see it.
Okay, perfect then. So thank you for joining me today. As Gabriela said before, my name is María del Mar Martín Aragón. Little difficult, composed name, composed surname. And I'm an associate professor of criminal law and criminology at the University of Cádiz in the very, very south of Spain, the same university that Professor Garcia before me. I'm thrilled to discuss with you today the intersection of sustainability development objectives, gender, and equality in higher education, which is the topic that I'll be covering today. So universities have long been acknowledged as institutions that generate knowledge with societal impact. And this recognition dates back to the international declarations such as the Stockholm Declaration in 1972, emphasizing education and research on socio-environmental aspects. Today, as we embrace the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the Agenda 2030, the role of higher education in achieving sustainable development objectives is paramount. In this presentation, we'll explore sustainability beyond its environmental dimension, incorporating broader issues like promoting peace, reducing inequalities, and combating discrimination. We'll delve into the guidelines established by the Conference of Rectors of Spanish Universities, advocating for integrating sustainability into higher education. Furthermore, we'll discuss universities as educational spaces, preparing students not only to excel in their professions, but also to address societal needs and contribute to sustainable development goals. Let's embark on this journey together to explore how universities can lead in advancing sustainable development objectives, promoting gender equality, and fostering inclusivity in higher education. So if we go back to the context and background, to understand sustainable development objectives, gender, and equality in higher education, let's consider the historical context and foundation of these principles. The concept of sustainable development has roots in international declarations from the 20th century, like the one I mentioned before, the Stockholm Declaration in 1972, which recognizes education and research's importance in socio-environmental aspects. Subsequent declarations emphasized universities' critical role in addressing global challenges, culminating in Agenda 21, which recognizes higher education's crucial role in sustainable development. Fast forward to today, with the adoption of the SDGs and the Agenda 2030, universities are central to achieving sustainable development objectives. In Spain, the Conference of Rectors of Spanish Universities advocates for sustainability integration into higher education, emphasizing ethical and transversal principles in curriculum development. Understanding this context is essential as we navigate the path forward towards a more sustainable and equitable future. Now we move forward to understanding what sustainability is supposed to be, or which is the idea that this presentation has of sustainability, which is a multifaceted concept that transcends mere environmental preservation. It embodies a holistic approach to addressing the integrate interplay between environmental, social, and economic factors. While the environmental aspect of sustainability is undeniably vital, it's equally imperative to recognize and address social injustice, economic inequalities, and systemic barriers to progress. At its core, sustainability reflects a paradigm shift, a fundamental remaining of our relationship with the planet and with one another. This is a vision that encompasses not just the preservation of natural resources, but also the promotion of social equity, economic prosperity, and cultural diversity. This holistic perspective is encapsulated in the United Nations definition of sustainability, which emphasizes the pursuit of a better quality of life for all, both present and future generations. In the realm of higher education, sustainability serves as a guiding principle for preparing our students to navigate the complexities of the modern world. By integrating sustainability into curriculum and pedagogy, universities can empower students to become catalysts for positive change in their communities and beyond. So the incorporation of sustainability principles into higher education is not a novel concept. It finds its roots, as we mentioned before, in international declarations dating back to the 20th century, such as the one I have mentioned. This is the third time I mention it because it's a very important declaration, the Stockholm one, as we have previously remarked. The Agenda 21 in particular recognized higher education as a crucial element in addressing global challenges and emphasized the need for universities to promote teaching criteria based on sustainable development. This recognition laid the groundwork for the integration of sustainability into higher education curriculum and teaching practices. In Spain, we have the Conference of Rectors of Spanish Universities, CRUE, that has been instrumental in championing sustainability in higher education. Through initiatives such as the Working Group on Environmental Quality and Sustainable Development, the CRUE has developed guidelines for incorporating sustainability principles into university activities and programs. These guidelines emphasize the importance of introducing transversal criteria of sustainability into all programs, thereby fostering critical thinking and promoting sustainable practices among students and teaching methods. In essence, understanding sustainability requires us to adopt a holistic perspective, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of environmental, social, and economic systems. By embracing sustainability in higher education, universities can equip students with the knowledge, skills, and values needed to address the complex challenges of the 21st century and build a more sustainable and equitable future for all. So now moving on onto the university guidelines integrating gender equality and sustainability in higher education. We need to bear in mind that universities are not just centers of learning, they are also key drivers of societal change. Integrating gender equality into higher education is crucial for fostering inclusive environments and advancing social progress. To achieve this goal, comprehensive guidelines and initiatives are essential to ensure that universities effectively promote gender equality alongside sustainability principles. First of all, we need to mention international frameworks, such as the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action from the 1995 and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which recognize the pivotal role of higher education in promoting gender equality and sustainability. These frameworks underscore the importance of incorporating gender perspectives across all academic disciplines and institutional practices. This is the idea. In the reality, we do not have this implementation of gender perspectives in all of our curriculums, but this is the goal where we are supposed to be going to. These frameworks underscore the importance, as I mentioned before, of incorporating gender perspectives. For instance, the SDGs explicitly call for achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, which is goal 5. acknowledging that education is a fundamental driver of gender equality and women's empowerment. Then we have the cruise initiatives. As I mentioned before, the Conference of Rectors of Spanish University has been at the forefront of efforts to integrate gender into higher education. Through initiatives like the Gender Equality in Universities program, CRUE provides guidelines and support for universities to develop gender-sensitive policies, curriculum, and research initiatives. This includes promoting gender balance in leadership positions, addressing gender-based violence on campus, and fostering a culture of respect and inclusion for all members of the university community. Then we have key components of university guidelines that should prioritize the integration of gender perspectives into all academic disciplines. This involves revising course materials, lectures, and assessments to ensure that they reflect diverse gender experiences and contribute to challenging stereotypes and biases. For example, incorporating case studies and examples that highlight the contributions of women and marginalized gender groups can help students to develop a more nuanced understanding of gender dynamics in their field of study. Inside these key components of university guidelines, we can also find gender-responsive pedagogy, in the sense that universities should adopt pedagogical approaches that promote active learning and critical engagement with gender issues. Faculty development programs can equip educators with the skills and knowledge needed to create inclusive learning environments and facilitate discussions on gender equality. This may include incorporating participatory teaching methods, encouraging student-led research projects on gender-related topics, and providing opportunities for dialogue and reflection on gender issues, both inside and outside the classroom. Another key component would be the support services and resources. Guidelines should address the importance of providing support services and resources for marginalized gender groups within the university community. I'm sure that Professor Garcia mentioned before me. These include access to counseling, mentorship programs, and advocacy services to counseling and advocacy services to address issues such as gender-based violence and discrimination. Additionally, universities should ensure that facilities and infrastructures are gender inclusive and accessible to all members of the community, including those with diverse gender identities and expressions. Relating the implementation of challenges and strategies, this idea may face challenges such as resistance to change, institutional barriers, and insufficient resources. Strategies such as stakeholder engagement, awareness raising campaigns, and capacity building workshops can help overcome these challenges and foster a culture of gender equality on campus. It's important for universities to actively involve students, faculty, staff, and community partners in the development and implementation of gender equality initiatives to ensure buy-in and sustainability over a long term. When we talk about case studies and best practices, we need to highlight that these can inspire universities to take action on gender equality. Examples of successful initiatives such as gender-responsive curriculum reforms, campus-wide awareness campaigns, and inclusive hiring practices can serve as some models for other institutions seeking to advance gender equality in higher education. By sharing these success stories and lessons learned, universities can learn from each other and collaborate to create more inclusive and equitable learning environments for all students. And finally, monitoring and evaluation. These are essential for assessing the impact of gender equality initiatives in higher education. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your program was if you don't have an evaluation and a monitoring, the results won't reach the real expectations because we won't be sure if it works or not. So we need to highlight the importance of monitoring and evaluation. In this sense, universities should establish mechanisms to track progress, collect data on gender disparities, and evaluate the effectiveness of interventions to inform evidence-based decisions making and continuous improvement. This may involve conducting regular surveys and focus groups to gather feedback from students, faculty, and staff on their experiences and perceptions of gender equality on campus, as well as analyzing quantitative data on enrollment, retention, and graduation rates disaggregated by gender to identify areas for improvement. So, in conclusion, university guidelines play a vital role in promoting gender equality and sustainability in higher education by aligning it with international frameworks, leveraging cross initiatives, and prioritizing inclusive curriculum, pedagogy, and server services. Universities can really create environments that empower all students and contribute to building a more equitable and sustainable society. It's essential for universities to continue working collaboratively with stakeholders to implement and evaluate gender equality initiatives effectively, ensuring that all members of the university community can thrive and reach their full potential regardless of gender. So, excuse me, I'm going to drink a little water. So, in the pursuit of gender equality, universities, as I mentioned before, play a pivotal role as both incubators of knowledge and agents of societal change. We can't forget this part. Okay, within the realm of higher education, they hold a unique position to challenge existing norms, empower individuals, and shape future leaders. Here, we delve into the multifaceted role of universities in advancing gender equality. First, I will refer to knowledge creation and dissemination. Universities serve as hubs of knowledge, incubators of knowledge, and dissemination, producing research that informs policies and practices related to gender equality. Through interdisciplinary studies, scholars explore the complexities of gender dynamics, unveiling inequalities and shedding light on potential solutions. By publishing findings in academic journals, presenting at conferences, and engaging with wider audiences through public lectures and media, universities amplify the discourse on gender issues, driving awareness and catalyzing change. Then we need to refer to curriculum development, which is one of the most direct ways universities can promote gender equality is through curriculum development. By integrating gender perspectives across disciplines, universities ensures that students receive a comprehensive education that reflects diverse experiences and challenges prevailing stereotypes. This includes revising course materials, incorporating feminist theories, and highlighting contribution from underrepresented groups. Through inclusive pedagogical practices such as participatory learning and critical dialogue, universities foster a culture of inquiry and empower students to challenge social norms and advocate for equality. Then we need to mention institutional policies and practices. So universities must also evaluate their own institutional policies and practices to ensure gender equality within their campuses. This entails implementing gender-sensitive policies related to recruitment, promotion, and tenure, as well as providing support services for students and staff. By addressing gender-based discrimination, harassment, and violence, universities create safer and more inclusive environments where everyone can thrive. Additionally, initiatives such as gender mainstreaming and gender audits help identify and address systemic barriers to equality, fostering institutional transformation from within. Then we move to leadership and representation. Achieving gender equality requires equitable representation in leadership positions across all levels of academia. Universities must actively promote women's participation in decision-making bodies, including academic senates, department chairs, and executive leadership roles. By supporting initiatives such as mentorship programs, leadership training, and networking opportunities, universities nurture a pipeline of diverse talent and empower women to pursue leadership positions. Moreover, recognizing the intersectionality of gender with other dimensions of identity, universities strive to promote diversity and inclusion in all aspects of campus life. And then we have research and advocacy. Beyond the confines of their campuses, universities engage in research and advocacy efforts to advance gender equality at local, national, and global levels. Through collaborative partnerships with civil society organizations, government agencies, and international institutions, universities leverage their expertise to inform policy debates, influence legislation, and drive social change. By conducting community-based research, organizing public events, and mobilizing grassroots movements, universities empower individuals and communities to advocate for their rights and demand accountability from policymakers. So, as a conclusion, universities wield a significant influence in shaping attitudes, policies, and practices related to gender equality. By leveraging their unique position as centers of knowledge production, curriculum development, and institutional leaderships, universities can drive transformative change and contribute to building a more equitable and inclusive society. Through sustained commitment and collaboration, universities can fulfill their role as catalysts for social progress and champions of gender equality in the 21st century. Moving on to return to society, as institutions deeply ingrained in their surroundings communities, universities have a responsibility to contribute to the broader societal goal of advancing gender equality. This section explores how universities can leverage their resources, expertise, and influence to effect positive change beyond their campuses. Relating to community and exchange and outreach, universities serves as valuable resources for their communities, offering expertise and support to address local challenges related to gender equality. Through community engagement initiatives such as service learning programs, volunteer opportunities, and outreach events, universities connect with diverse stakeholders and amplify their impact. By partnering with community organizations, advocacy groups, and policymakers, universities can mobilize collective action and address pressing issues affecting marginalized groups, including women and gender minorities. Relating to knowledge translation and dissemination, beyond academic circles, universities have a role to play in translation and dissemination them to wider audiences. By collaborating with media outlets, public agencies, and civil society organizations, universities can amplify the reach of their research on gender equality and influence public discourse. Through initiatives such as public lectures, workshops, and online resources, universities empower individuals and communities with evidence-based information and tools to advocate for gender-inclusive policies and practices. Talking about policy, advocacy, and leadership, universities possess institutional expertise and credibility that can inform policymaking and drive systemic change on gender equality issues. By engaging in policy advocacy efforts, universities can leverage their research and analysis to influence legislative agendas and shape public policy in a way. Through partnerships with governmental agencies, international organizations, and advocacy coalitions, universities can advocate for the adoption and implementation of gender-sensitive policies and legislation that promote women's rights, gender equality, and social justice. Then moving on to gender-responsive programming and services, universities have a role to play in ensuring that their programs and services are responsive to the needs and priorities of diverse gender identities and expressions by implementing gender-responsive practices in areas such as student support services, health and wellness programming, and campus facilities. Universities create inclusive environments where all members of the community feel safe, respected, and supported. Through initiatives such as gender-neutral restrooms, inclusive housing options, and culturally competent counseling services, universities demonstrate their commitment to equity and inclusion for all. And finally, global engagement and collaboration. In an increasingly interconnected world, universities have the opportunity to engage in global dialogue and collaboration on gender equality issues by participating in international research networks, academic exchanges, and collaborative projects. Universities can contribute to global knowledge production and capacity building efforts. Through partnerships with universities and organizations around the world, universities can share best practices, exchange resources, and mobilize collective action to address gender disparities and promote women's empowerment on a global scale. So, in a conclusion, universities have a vital role to play in advancing gender equality, both within their campuses and beyond. By engaging with their communities, translating research into action, advocating for policy change, providing gender-responsive programming and services, and collaborating globally, universities can contribute to creating a more equitable and inclusive society for all. Through sustained commitment and collaboration, universities can harness their collective power to drive transformative change and build a future where gender equality is a reality for everyone. So finally, I'm presenting my own proposal of this idea, just of this bridging the gap. I'm showing you, this is an innovative teaching project that I developed like 2 years ago. I'm in my program and in the degree of criminology at the University of Cádiz. Here you are. My idea was building upon the principle of Sustainable Development Goals number 5, 10, and 16. This proposal aims to integrate gender equality and SDGs into the curriculum of a subject called Specific Manifestations of Criminality, Gender and Immigration within the Criminology and Security program, as I mentioned before, at the University of Cádiz, where I teach. By infusing gender perspective and SDGs principles into course content and activity, this initiative seeks to enhance students' understanding of gender dynamics in criminal behavior and immigration issues, promote critical analysis of inequalities, and foster a commitment to gender-responsive and SDG-aligned practices in the field of criminology. So, the first step in the proposal involves integrating SDG principles and gender perspectives into the curriculum of this subject. This includes revising course materials to align with the objectives of SDGs 5, 10, and 16, incorporating feminist theories and highlighting the intersectionality of gender with other social identities such as immigrant status, race, ethnicity, and sexuality. By centering SDGs and gender as critical lenses for understanding criminal behavior and immigration issues, this initiative will equip students with the knowledge and analytical tools to recognize and address inequalities within the criminal justice system and immigration processes. So, relating student engagement will be a central component of this initiative. with opportunities for active participation in promoting gender equality and SDGs within the field of criminology, building upon the activities developed for specific forms of criminality. Two, students will engage in hands-on learning experiences that apply SDGs principles to gender and immigration issues. Activities included a law review from a gender perspective, analyzing Spanish laws before the Constitution to assess their alignment with gender equality principles. Case studies on trans rights violations, such as the PV versus Spain case in the European Court of Human Rights, followed by a discussion on key aspects of the case, development of an evaluation plan on gender diversity within a police institution, using guidelines provided to assess current practices and propose improvements. Role-playing scenarios depicting interactions between justice institutions and vulnerable populations, encouraging students to explore different outcomes and practices. These activities, designed to be participative and collaborative, promote a working group spirit where every member is important to develop the final product. They encourage students to think critically, solve complex scenarios, and actively engage with course content, thereby deepening their understanding of gender and immigration issues within the criminal justice system. Here you are, a pair of pictures of my students developing the activities that I must mention that they enjoyed a lot these activities because, I allowed them, I encouraged them to make kind of a performance using costumes, and we moved to a special class. I think someone left the mic on.
Oui.
Yes, please switch off all the microphones. I try to do it.
Ndananiwe gusa nta bindi. Nanabanyisha twageza mu gitondo bukeye.
Moment I try to. Okay.
Kuko ngiye ngo ndaryama sinzi abantu bahise bampamagara.
It's okay if I continue?
Yeah, I think now it's switched off.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So, as I was mentioning, you have here my students applying all these type and
Wonderful.
activities. I must mention that institutional.
Abangeze. Ndaryama nsigaje ibintu nka bitanu nka bikeya kuko.
I don't know why I'm not able to switch off this microphone. Okay. Maybe
It's
now.
okay.
I hope so.
Okay, no worries. Well, I think I was here. Yeah. Then we also need to mention that these activities, as I mentioned before, were designed to be participative, as you have had the opportunity to see here. Within the immigration model activities, we also made a case law revision, a speech analysis, and a role play. We made another role play. For instance, the speech analysis was focused on this kind of fake news relating criminalization and immigration. So we need to the opportunity to have a deeper view on this topic. You have here another. Well, this is a picture of the role play. As I was saying, you have here a picture of my students making the role play. And then we move to institutional policies and practices. Institutional policies and practices will be reviewed and revised to ensure alignment with principles of SDGs and gender equality. This includes adopting SDG-sensitive recruitment and retention practices, establishing mechanisms for addressing gender-based discrimination and harassment within the university, and providing support services for students and staff from marginalized and vulnerable groups by enacting policies that prioritize gender equity, inclusivity, and SDG alignment. The university demonstrates its commitment to creating a safe, respectful, and supportive environment for all members of the community. Then we refer to research and knowledge production, the integration of SDGs and gender equality into specific manifestations of criminality, gender, and immigration, my subject, will also involve promoting research and knowledge production within the field of criminology. Faculty and students will be encouraged to undertake research projects that explore gender dynamics in criminal behavior, immigration issues, and their intersections with SDGs. In fact, almost every final degree project that I coordinate is focused on these kind of topics. So I really encourage my students to propose as topics for their final project degree topics related to gender, to immigration, and how these topics interact between them, and also how these intersect with SDGs. So by prioritizing funding and support for research initiatives that address SDG targets and gender-related challenges, the university aims to generate new knowledge, inform evidence-based interventions, and contribute to the achievement of SDG goals. Evaluation and accountability, as I mentioned before, mechanism for monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of this initiative will be established to ensure accountability and continuous improvement. Data on student engagement, faculty development, curriculum integration, institutional policies, and research outputs will be collected and analyzed regularly to assess progress toward SDG and gender equality goals, and feedback from students, faculty, and staff will be solicited to identify areas for improvement and inform future iterations of the initiative. So, in conclusion, integrating SDGs and gender equality into the curriculum of the subject I am teaching, a specific manifestation of criminality, represents a proactive step toward fostering inclusive and equitable learning environments within the field of criminology. By centering SDG principle and gender perspectives in course content and activities, promoting faculty development on SDG-aligned pedagogies, empowering student engagement in SDG and gender equality initiatives, aligning institutional policies with the SDG targets and gender equality principles, prioritizing research that addresses SDG goals and gender-related challenges, and establishing mechanisms for evaluation and accountability, the university can contribute to the advancement of sustainable development, gender equality, and social justice within the field of criminology and beyond. So finally, the final conclusion is that the integration of sustainability development goal and gender equality principles into higher education curricula represents a pivotal step towards fostering transformative learning experiences and advancing societal progress. Through this initiative, we have outlined a comprehensive approach to infusing SDG principles and gender perspectives into course content, faculty development, student engagement, institutional policies, research endeavors, and evaluation mechanisms. By centering SDGs and gender equality as foundational frameworks across various academic disciplines, universities can really equip students with the knowledge, skills, and critical perspectives necessary to address complex social challenges, promote sustainable development, and advance gender equality. These activities developed for this initiative offer hands-on learning experiences that encourage active participation, collaboration, critical thinking, and empathy, fostering a deeper understanding of societal issues and empowering students to become agents of positive change. Moreover, by investing in faculty development, institutional policies, and research initiatives that prioritize SDGs and gender equality, universities demonstrate and show their commitment to creating inclusive, equitable, and sustainable learning environments. And in closing, let us reaffirm our collective responsibility to uphold the principles of sustainability, gender equality, and social justice in all aspects of higher education, and to continue striving towards a brighter and more inclusive future for all. Thank you, everyone. Here you are. There you have my email in case you need to contact me or you need more info or wherever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. This presentation was really interesting and very technical. So we can start with a question we have in the chat, and then maybe we see if the audience would like to ask something more. So I just read it. Okay. In the dissemination of knowledge and translation to the community, apart publication in the journal, what are other practical ways for translate and disseminate knowledge to the society?
This is a very good question because, the majority of the society don't go to journals and read research because sometimes they are very technical. The journals are not accessible for everyone, are not available. So I think that one of the most important ways of disseminating this information, our research, our projects, is, for instance, with our Instagram. We have profiles on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, which is now X. We have also social profiles of the universities. We also deliver kind of workshops in a more plain, not so technical, with a vocabulary that is accessible for everyone. And we also organize different kind of talks with our city hall, so everyone can come, have a seat, listen. We also have a thing called the Night of the European Researchers, which is a very, very interesting thing. We organize it's kind of a social thing. The idea is kind of a research party in the downtown of the city where everyone can come. And these are kind of little points. You have like a tent, something like that, and everyone has their point, and you explain to the people that arises and then that come here. You have like a very big the poster that say my research is on that topic, and you explain it in a very, very simple way. You can also have activities where the people can come and interact so they can feel as a part of this research. And you explain, hey, I'm researching on, I don't know, whatever, for instance, illegal wildlife trade, for instance. And it's important for our community because of this, and this. So they can really have, they feel like a part of this. Because sometimes, universities are very far from the social part, but we can't forget this. We can't forget that we need to give back what we once received. So these are kind of activities that we promote and that we do at our university, so the society can have knowledge of what we are doing. And university that sometimes see very far away, people think they might be in their laboratories doing whatever, and this is a very good way to make research closer to real people.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay. Maybe in the chat, another one. Let me see. No. Okay, just thank you for your answer. Okay, if you have some comments or you would like to add something, maybe you can do also it by writing an email to the professor. And also okay, Godfrey, we have a question.
I just wanted to thank Maria for the spirit presentation. She really enjoys it. I saw a lot of passion. Thank you so much. Would you have a possible sample of the university sustainability strategy that you can share? Because, you know, that would really be able to inspire us also to appreciate. Because when you talked about the university guidelines, you put up a lot of interesting insights there. I noted the you try to mention about the international frameworks, the monitoring and evaluation, etc. But if you can being proactive would mean you need a policy and then a strategy that is informed by the policy, and as you implement that, then you can quickly be able to measure them and E-level, and then continuously be able to embed it in the other university activities going along. So if you do have a sample, kindly, it would really be appreciated. All links to samples of those that have worked, that would really be most appreciated. Otherwise, I want to thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much for your comment. So, for instance, if a real example of that, let me share for a minute once again, so I can make it easier. There, relating the CRUES initiative, they developed a specific working group on that, on gender equality. So having these guidelines, it's kind of a framework for all universities to adapt our curriculum to this program. I mean, it's not compulsory. So this is one of the main problems, as it's not compulsory, not every professor or every subject is to include sustainability or gender equity in their curriculums, but the initiative of the CRUES is very, very clear on that. They even created a specific group working on that, on sustainability, and it's gaining more and more importance. For instance, in our university, we have these calls for innovative programs. And this is a specific example I can provide you with. We have a call every year on innovative teaching programs. And one of the main aims or one of the most valuable things is that you create or adapt your curriculum or your program for the subject to SDGs, overall gender equity and sustainability principle. And one way to promote to engage professors and the other university community to make these efforts to change everything and adapt to SDGs and sustainability and gender equity is that by every year, you have this kind of a mention of prize as best practices in innovative teaching program, and you have this kind of recognition. So it's one way to specifically promote that teachers and professors and students really, really engage with this topic.